You know, I should probably stop announcing / hinting at what I'm planning to review next at the end of these videos. Cause each fucking time I do, the universe and my insanity conspire against me. Crimsonland is a top-down Trump's War with elements of Jackson Pollock Simulator, developed by 10 Tons in 2003. Your task: to defend the glorious U.S.A. from the hordes of unwashed illegal aliens. Sadly, due to the defense funds being cut by those filthy liberals, all the brass is able to afford is a single trooper. In a situation where sending a company wouldn't be too amiss. Bad news, you are alone, packing only minimal heat against literally hundreds of aliens, zombies, spiders, and most terrifyingly of all, Democrats. Good news! I guess this entire stem cell research finally paid off, as you have an ace up your sleeve. The more you kill, the more your body mutates, and somehow you do have a limited control over which mutation will be the most beneficial in your situation. But you're going to need more than that to survive. Much more than that. This game is probably even less complex in its premise than Death Rally. As a matter of fact, all of the above is essentially made up. I mean, it's a video game, all video game plots are made up. But what I mean is, you get no explanation as to what and why. Here's you, here's your big iron. Here's a murder ball of bastards that want to tear you limb from limb. Your goal? To be the last one standing atop the gore-drenched slat. Oh, Crimsonland, I get it now. Let's get the obvious out of the way first. This game is barely average, even cheap looking at best. Which actually kinda makes sense. From what I've gathered, Crimsonland started as a tech demo for the homebrew engine made for the Master's Thesis or something like that. Give me a break. I've started this review after a very rough week at my job, when nothing works and you spend most of the day scouring search engines. I've had enough of researching shit. The environments you will fight in are simple, flat plains with no defining features. There are grass plains, barren plains, rocky plains, snowy plains that burn right through my retinas, and whatever the fuck this is. But let's be honest, it doesn't matter that much. By the end of each deployment, it is certain all those dull buck drops will be covered in combination of gore and remains of the fallen. I need to point out, each and every single bullet hitting the mark results in splashes of gore, and it's even more ludicrous with certain types of weapons. The animations are extremely minimal, same as the enemy designs, but the silhouettes are distinct enough for one to be able to recognize what they are fighting. Although with all the carnage, it is not uncommon to not realize one of the smaller foes are out there, waiting to chomp on your arse. The enemies often drop bonuses or weapons to replace your current one. The icons are legible, so it's rare to not be completely sure what will be picked up at glance, your regular shotguns being the only exception I can think of. The GUI is fairly sleek, minimal and clean. I guess if I were to complain on something, it would be how the health and current ammo are tucked away essentially in the corner, making it a little difficult to be aware of your current status. The audio, on the other hand, is much stronger. Soundtrack of Crimsonland is suitably true, the variety of tracks isn't too big, and the one you will hear the most seems to be essentially a simple 1-minute long loop. Or at least it feels like it, but somehow it doesn't drive you mad. How? Because the audio layering is done really well. You would think that killing dozens of creatures at once would become overpowering, but no, it doesn't. Whatever kind of sidechaining is applied works surprisingly well, and somehow everything remains fairly selective. Dying creatures emit distinct sounds, and most of the weapons sound punchy, well, with 3 exceptions really. Any weapon with Gauss in their name will sound subdued, which is really weird, seeing how they are essentially your railgun options. Pulse gun and blowtorch seem to test the limits of game's layering. Certain frequencies build up fast when you fire those. That said, it's still within acceptable levels, so I cannot call them annoying, merely noticeable. If there is some strangeness, it would be how each and every single level remains deathly silent until the first shot is fired. and how layering sometimes suffers a bit of a brain fart when the level ends. Oh, speaking of the level end, I must say the sound emitted by the trooper when he kicks the bucket is one of the most comically drawn out, blood-curdling screams I've heard. It's as if someone was trying to make a scream of agony while making a mock Arnold Schwarzenegger expression. I can't help but love it. With the presentation discussed, let's move to the main course, the gameplay. Take your gun, shoot the bastards. This is the core of Crimsonland's gameplay. But of course there are things to spice it up. First of all, perks. Killing enemies grants you experience. Once you amass it, you are allowed to level up, which boils down to choosing one perk from a selection of 5. Perks add a surprising amount of depth to the gameplay. They are also an element that will give you an edge against the merciless onslaught you will face, hopefully. What do I mean by depth? I'll need some examples to explain. Let's say you are tempted by thick-skinned. What it does is essentially reducing all the damage taken by a third, but at the cost of immediately losing a third of your total health. Can you risk it? Can you actually benefit from it without dying 5 seconds after? Do you even have enough health to take it? Or another example, poison bullets. As the name implies, each foe that survives being shot will suffer damage over time. That's cool, but why would I even need it when I wield the kind of a gun U.S.A. was looking for in Saddam's basement? Well, sometimes you don't, so having some kind of passive damage can be nice to have. Yeah, the decisions you make don't require the IQ needed to realize how Rick and Morty is a really dumb show overall, but it is a nice inclusion. Of course, there are perks that you should always take. Fast Loader and Telekinetic spring to mind, and those that are a waste of fucking space. As for the guns, there is a fucking lot of them. Are they the most creative thing in the world? No. But they are distinct enough to add another layer of decision-making to the process of running around with left mouse button firmly pressed and buttocks firmly clenched. The initial roster of weapons is shorter than your alleged father's cock, but you gradually unlock more through quests, aka the campaign. You start out with basic bitch pistols, rifles, and shotgun. Boring! We need more DACA. Also, the sort of shotty has a spread wider than that of your mother's legs. How about the plasma rifle? Fast projectiles, doing a lot of damage. Or iron rifle, slower projectiles, but more lenient with inaccuracy and causing a small shock chain effect damaging other enemies around the target. Nice for thinning down the herd. Or perhaps a Gauss gun is your thing, carving through the enemies like butter. Intriguing, but I need more DACA! Well, if you need to dish out even more pain, maybe I can interest you in plasma minigun, a swarm launcher firing heat-seeking missiles, a Gauss shotgun perhaps, or even better, the fucking iron cannon. There are several gameplay modes. The main one are quests, 5 chapters with 10 levels each that can be played either normally or in hardcore mode. Each quest resets your trooper's gear and perk selection, while putting you in some kind of a scenario to overcome. For example, there is a level which starts you with a Gauss gun and proceeds to drop enemy spawners in such a way that with some practice you should be able to take them out before they start spewing enemies. Another that springs to mind is a level that revolves around big squads of mostly barely visible enemies that you need to deal with. Each quest unlocks a new weapon or perk to play with, in both campaign and survival mode. The survival mode pits you against enemies spawning infinitely, until you kick the bucket. The goal is to stay alive for as long as possible, a familiar one to all those merely existing in Balkans. Rush is even more basic and stripped down. No leveling up or perks, no pickups, no bonuses, only you, your assault rifle, and alien bastards. Again, the goal is to stay alive as long as possible. The final gameplay mode, Typo Shooter, is a fun experimental thing you unlock by beating the quests on normal difficulty. I think. It kinda just appeared one time I booted up the game. In this mode, your character is unable to move and armed only with a shotgun and an infinite supply of shells. However, the gimmick is, each enemy has a word you need to type. If you submit the correct phrase, the trooper shoots the monster, instantly killing it and whatever would be caught in the shotgun spread. If you make a mistake, nothing happens and the input is reset. Meanwhile, the enemies don't give a damn and slowly approach, and you die in one hit. All in all, it's a fun and amusing spin on the keyboard typing exercises. I find the idea alone quite adorable. Overall, the gameplay mechanics of Crimsonland are very simplistic, but you know what? It's fun. Most of the quests can be beaten under 2 minutes, making for a game to boot up when you need to take a short break and play something comfortably. And I think this is what's important. It's fun and doesn't demand sinking ridiculous amounts of your time into it to enjoy it. Techland. Crimsonland is a small, bite-sized game with gameplay that strikes a nice balance between depth, fast-paced action, and simplicity. It's a game that is more than possible to just pop up for 5 to 10 minutes, play 2 or 3 maps, then return to work. Although I would recommend doing this in an office, for some reason smoking is more tolerated than short gaming sessions to let off the steam. So it's one of those short and sweet games reasonably priced at something like $3 max. You're fucking with me, right? Oh, it's because there's some other game bundled with it. What you can buy nowadays is the remake of Crimsonland released in 2014, done by the same developer on yet another in-house engine. The Crimsonland I have reviewed thus far is now referred to as Crimsonland Classic. It's available as one of the extras on GOG. On Steam, allegedly, it's possible to find it amongst the game files. So, why this whole ruse? The classic version is something I played back when I was 13 or 14. Those were dark times, but you know, I'd like to remember the little good things from around that time, rather than the struggle. Also because I haven't played the remake yet. As a matter of fact, the only reason I bothered was to get the classic version I've lost with the death of one of my hard drives. Only recently have I found out that it's actually bundled with the remake. I bought it drunkenly during the 50% sale on GOG, so I shouldn't complain, but Christ on toes, that price seems a little steep. I need to remind you, Death Rally Classic, that is comparatively lightweight and engaging, is nowadays essentially free to obtain. For fuck's sake, that's more than the full price of The Consuming Shadow, a much deeper and innovative game, even if arguably cheaper looking. You want an even more egregious example? Alright, FTL Faster Than Light on GOG. Oh, maybe another one. Heroes of Fuck Mothering Might and Magic Free? Yeah. So, fuck it, double review. Let's take a brief look at the remake, along with a stream of piss all over it where I can. The first thing that is noticeable, the game certainly looks different. But okay, that's a small thing, sure. So let's talk about something more important. Remake certainly does sport a new engine. Some enemies received new animations and a rework in terms of their design, although I'm not entirely sold on the new aesthetics. It feels like the entire game is now a slave to flashy animated effects. Nothing can just slide in. It has to do so during an exaggerated animation, even the menace. But fair, that's a nitpick. It's a remake, they remade the visuals, okay. What they certainly did not remake is the audio. The first time I booted up the remake, I was weirded out to hear the many music from the classic version. The further I got into it, the more uncanny it was to hear old music tracks and sound effects exactly as they were in the classic. Okay, true. I think they added something like 2 new tracks into the collection. Shame those are incongruent with the old tracks, as in they sound noticeably different. I have nothing against the original audio, quite the contrary, but wouldn't it be more expedient to re-record them as well or something? Okay, what next should I wee on from the 4th floor window? Oh, the campaign now has 7 chapters! I guess that partially excuses the price along the new coat of paint. And then I started playing through the game and very quickly realized I've just played through this. 3 times as a matter of fact. Sure, there seems to be a new enemy thrown here and there, like the exploding lizards. And later you actually play a few new levels and encounter the completely new range of enemies, the beetles. Shame I can no longer name the trooper for the rankings. I would call him Yoko Oh No. The more I'm playing those new levels, the more I feel I played them several times already. And then I realized it's because they reused a lot of old tricks and patterns. At least that's how it felt like. Another change I'm not entirely okay with: level up screen. In the original Crimsonland, pulling up the level up screen was voluntary. You did so by pressing right mouse button, and that resulted in game stopping to show you a sleek little menu on the side. Now, that same menu pops out automatically on level up, abruptly wresting control away from you. That said, it does seem like leveling up gives you a few seconds of shield and pushes away the enemy, so there's that, I guess. From more positive changes, I like how the information on Trooper's remaining health surrounds him, making it a little more accessible of an information. Similarly, ammo remaining in the magazine hovers over the targeting reticle. Very nice. What I don't like is how close the viewport is to the ground. Like, man, I don't know, I no longer have a sensation for how oppressive the enemy numbers actually are anymore. New perks had been introduced, and some others are curious by their omission. Special mention goes to telekinetic. Previously, you had to hover the mouse over the bonus for something like 2 or 3 seconds to trigger the effect of the perk. The opportunities were powerful indeed, but the practical cost of not being able to freely cull the herd for seconds could become a very dangerous detriment. In the remake, on top of the original effect, the closest bonus actually moves slowly towards you. Convenient. I guess what I try to say overall is nearly every aspect of the remake reminds me of a line from a certain typo negative song. 2 steps forward, 3 steps back. If you enjoy the gameplay of Crimsonland, then perhaps the survival mode will be enough justification to pay $10 for the entire package. I like it, and I can appreciate what effort I can see injected into the game. At the same time, I can't help but feel that appreciation heavily eroded by literally the same audio nicked from the original. Just to name one thing that smacks of low effort. It does have new gameplay modes, and it would seem that it allows for up to 4-player couch co-op, and maybe this will be enough for you. For me, it feels like the remake under-delivers for the price tag, especially compared to some other titles out there. And all of it is painfully underlined by the fact that I constantly feel like I literally just played all of this minutes ago, which I guess is your cue to lampoon me in the comments with definitions of the term remake. So, onto my actual conclusions. Crimsonland is a small, simple and fun game. It's a great way to relax and blow off some steam, and the carnage feels cathartic. That being said, I cannot recommend it for the price. Get it on sale. As of writing the script for this video, it's on a 50% sale on GOG, which I guess is a fair enough price for getting both the original and the remake. Otherwise, no! I'm looking at the price tag and I'm remembering the time when that kind of money would sustain me for 3 days of university rush, including all meals and an odd Snickers here and there. For perspective, gathering footage and preparing it for the review took less than that. If you have this kind of cash to spare, get FTL faster than light. Over-consuming shadow. Well born. I didn't want to be this harsh, yet here we are. See you next time. Thanks for watching, oh gentle viewer. This video wasn't supposed to take this long, but things had been a little messy, so here we are. Announcements, folks. I know I said at the beginning that I should not say what will be the next video, but this time I have a good reason. Because starting next week, I am sitting down to grinding out the Dawn of War video. And it will be a long one, and I will very likely vanish for longer than usual. I ask your patience. Second announcement. There are several titles I cherish and want to review. However, I want to put effort into those, as I personally believe they deserve it. It will take a lot of work and time, and I don't want to spend months on something for it to essentially drown and not be seen. So here's what we will do. I'll lock those behind channel growth. For the Baptism of Fire, for the 500 subscriber count, I will review Stalker Shadow of Chernobyl. After reaching 1000 subscribers, I will put Arcanum of Steamworks and Magic Obscura on the editing board. And yes, Sadrax, I know I said it, so I will put it fair and square here. At 100,000 subscribers, I will review Fallout 3. Because I hate it. It's my personal Duke Nukem forever. I'll come up with more channel goals, obviously, but for now, let's not rush anywhere when I don't have to. Special thanks to my generous Patreon supporters for backing me up in this mess. Glenn Uno, Guiderino, JWK, Mefcio, Łukasz Barański, and Chico Wow Wow. See you next time, whenever that will be.